Hello, it's Rich Rosen, founder and CEO of Fastcall, and I'm going to do a quick demo of our inbound call routing options. I'm going to go over our basic call routing options. So I'm logged in here to console and I have a call coming in, so I'm going to answer that. I'm here in console, as I mentioned. I could be in Classic or Lightning. In console, which we really love, the phone is always going to be in the footer in the lower right. OpenCTI in Lightning, the phone will always be in the lower left footer, and in Classic, it's in the sidebar. So I want to go over a couple of our settings for our basic inbound call routing options. So I have an inbound call that's come in here. You notice it says unknown caller. If there's not a match in Salesforce and we can search here, we can create a new lead. I can come in here and I can create a new lead. If there is a match, and you'll see that we automatically can set the lead status to contacted, and we can automatically set the lead source, in this case, lead source defaulted to cold call. So test, test. Company is hello. There's also the phone number. So we picked up the phone number as caller ID. So call comes in, there's no match. Um, we give you the opportunity to create a lead. It is actually a lead only. So if you need it to be contact, you'd have to convert it. And I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to close this task. We'll say this was an inbound sales lead. There we go. You will see that inside of our widget, we have our recent calls. So there it is. The recent call is here and it is noted as test test. I can click on this and I can go directly to that lead by clicking on test test, date, time of the call, the company name. We will find, when possible, the city, state, country, based upon the area code and prefix. Not always, but when we can look that up, we will. There's a link to the task directly that was created when the call came in, and we could just make a return call back um, to this uh, to this lead, though it is preferable to call from the record itself because that will improve the call logging capability. So our recent calls were here. So the inbound call came in. We answered the phone. We created a new lead. If I called again, um, the call is going to come in a second time, and in this case, we are going to map the lead that we found. So now it says test test. So now that the lead exists in Salesforce, we are able to, and I'll just decline that. It'll go right to voicemail. Once the lead exists, we look it up and we map it. So the first call you'll see came in as unknown. The second call we matched. Awesome. Inbound call routing. So I want to talk a little bit about some of our settings. So for basic inbound call routing, um, in our base edition, users can have one phone number per user. In our upgrade, you can have unlimited phones per user. Our inbound call routing settings are here in Fast Call settings. Under My Settings, you'll see that we have devices. Devices can be used to answer inbound calls. We automatically take your office phone and mobile phone directly from your Salesforce profile. Not all users will have phone numbers populated on your Salesforce profile, but if you do, we'll pick them up there. You can also add other phones or other devices in Fastcall. So you can see I have another office phone, another mobile phone. I have a few other phones added as devices in my own Salesforce, in my own Fastcall setup. So you start off with devices. How am I going to answer the phone? And then I set up my inbound routing. And inbound routing options include for user inbound, um, Ring, where we're adding, and I'm going to go over here. If you see, I'm going to click on new inbound route. So I can say soft phone, and these are all the devices that I showed a minute ago. Um, let's say that mobile phone, and we're going to ring for 20 seconds. You'll also notice that there are some time-based routing options here as well if we wanted to create some time-based routing rules. So I've now set up a simul ring to ring the soft phone and a simul ring phone for 20 seconds. After 20 seconds, um, it'll now ring the soft phone alone for 10 seconds, just how it is in this example. I could delete this. Um, so two phones, two routing setups on top of each other is overflow. One and the other, two at the same time, are called simul ring. Pretty straightforward. So you're basically telling the application which devices to answer your phone, the phone call on, and that could be a soft phone or a hard phone. So what else do we have here? Any phone numbers that are assigned to you will appear under user settings. If you're the admin, you'll see all of the phone numbers. You can see here provisioned phones are assigned phone numbers that can receive inbound calls. You will notice here under verified phone numbers, these are verified phone numbers that are used as caller ID only. So these are phones that you own and are using as caller ID. Phones that are provisioned are accepting inbound calls. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to see as a user all phones that are either assigned to me directly or assigned to a group that I'm a member of. But in this demo, we're going to talk about user inbound routing, our call routing to groups I cover in the demo video for ACD and IVR. Okay, so I have phone numbers that are assigned to me. Those phone numbers can receive inbound calls. I can set up my receivers. I have my inbound settings here. Do I want to enable call recording? Fastcall does give a couple different settings for call recording, and we do it in a couple different places. In this case, I'm controlling inbound call recording. There's actually another setting for outbound call recording. Am I going to enable voicemail? What is that voicemail message? I can have one voicemail message, but I can have many recorded messages that I can just pick here as my voicemail message. There's also an optional inbound setting that relates to SMS. I mentioned recorded messages, they're here, so my recorded messages are here. So um, what else is there? Yeah, so I think your status here, sort of the first thing that we're actually going to see in my settings, status. Um, when a user is available, she can receive an inbound call. When a user is offline, she cannot receive an inbound call. This does not affect outbound at all, so this does affect um, inbound only, and there is an org-wide setting here for inbound calls. Um, for the org, now I'm in admin settings, so I want to enable voicemail for the org. Generally, this setting here, use soft phone layout, we leave alone. It's an advanced setting that's generally not needed. Look up call recording, calling record at the beginning of the call. We generally keep that on. You'll notice I had my lead status is contacted. My lead source was a default. I think there might be a setting here for phone. I had that defaulted to cold call, but you can set your default lead source for an inbound call here. Um, so these are some of your inbound settings. I mentioned before missed call settings. Do you want to send an email for a missed call? You do that here. You enable that notification. You can edit the text here. You can send a CC for your missed call email. And I mentioned before, if you want to automatically log out users after they've missed calls, you can do that here. So this says 5, I can make that 3. So basically, if the user misses 3 calls in a row, she will automatically be logged out, and then calls for user inbound call routing would go directly to voicemail. Um, this is also an important feature when you're using the call distribution via the ACD or IVR. So that is inbound call routing. Of course, um, those calls, inbound calls, create tasks, and the tasks are available on a Salesforce record as an inbound call. You can also have, of course, reports of your inbound calls by user, inbound calls by status, much like outbound, but you'll see that there are under your activity history, you will see your inbound calls also available here in the widget. So if I click in here and I come into the task, you'll see that this is the task that was created from my inbound call. So I'll look up to the lead. The type is always call. Um, the caller ID that called me, the number that dialed, the status was missed. This was the call that I rejected. Call time, call duration, call subject, unique ID that was inbound, all the information you would have on your Salesforce task. As a side note, of course, all of this is customizable. You'd edit the specific layout um, as you would need it. For my particular org, I have all the fields on the task. So that's a quick demo of our inbound call routing. Phone numbers are provisioned in Salesforce as an admin, and you're doing that um, as an admin in our um, admin settings. You can provision new numbers. Um, in most markets around the world. Um, the admin provisions the numbers, end users do not provision phone numbers. So any user with admin rights in Fastcall, you don't have to be an admin in Salesforce, but you have to be an admin in Fastcall. You would do that here, phone numbers, and we cover this in another setup video, but just quickly provision new phone number. So you provision a new phone number here. It's very easy. Provisioning a phone number takes less than a minute. And again, when you are provisioning a phone number, so if I search here um, and you see a phone number and I provision and set up, I'm assigning phone numbers to users. So this is a user phone number. If I assigned it to a group, that would be under our AV, AZD, or IVR. Great. So if you have any questions, shoot us an email, support@fastcall.com. Otherwise, thank you for watching this.